Do you craft with foam board? Well, I do. Hey Bestie, it's Lisa. Welcome or welcome back. If you want to craft your best life with me, let's get started right now. For this Dollar Tree foam board hack, I've got a piece of foam board and I'm just going to trace a square using that picture that I had. Now I'm going to cut it out with my blade, and then I'm going to draw another square right in the middle, and I'll use my blade to cut that out. I just found something that was that size and traced it over the top. Anything that doesn't push out quickly, I just turn it over and I just go ahead and score it again. Now I'm going to use my ruler to do a diagonal line from the inside square to the corner of the outside square, and I'm going to turn this into 4 pieces and cut them, and this will be a picture frame type of a thing, but it will have those beveled or mitered edges. I'm going to use my Nimbus colored chalk paint by Waverly, and I'm just going to do a coat over all 4 pieces. And then I'll do the sides as well. I'm going to take my steel colored chalk paint. I'm going to use that to dry brush. So I'll put some on my brush, wipe most of it off, and then drag it around the edges. And I'll do a little bit in the center too, just to give it a distressed finish. And there it is. And I'm going to just do a little bit in the middle, like I said, just very lightly. Now I'm going to turn it over because I'm going to attach it from the back. So I'm going to put some hot glue on it and see if that will be good enough, kind of, rub it in with my little spatula. And then I'm going to add a piece of masking tape over each corner just to solidify it and make sure it stays in place. I've got this gorgeous striped ribbon from burlapfabric.com. And I'm just going to cut a piece that I can pull around the top and attach in the back. And that will be like what will hold this wreath we're about to make with this greenery I got from Amazon. So I'm going to cut the little pieces and start shaping into a round wreath. So at first, it's not like a perfect circle because we are working with a square, but then I'll take some little pieces and start filling in. And now you see a circle there. And then I'll just fill in any like holes or anywhere that it needs to be a little fuller. You can make this as large or small as you like. This is the size I thought would look the best with this frame. And I'm just trying to create kind of a farmhouse looking frame, and then with the wreath on it with this ribbon around the center, and I'll hot glue it to the back and then seal it together just by hot gluing. This gives it that really pretty farmhouse look. I'm going to take a little piece of twine, tie it in a knot with the 2 ends, and create a little hanger that we're going to hide on the back of the ribbon so nobody sees it. All we see is the pretty ribbon. And just attach that there, and then take another little piece of the ribbon and cover up my knot with some hot glue just to secure it. It's very lightweight. Remember, we're using foam board here. And now I've got a beautiful hidden hanger on the back. I think this turned out gorgeous. I love this one. I think this one is my favorite today. You have to let me know if it's yours. Every change has a reason. Baby, let it come to you. For this Dollar Tree foam board hack, I've got another piece of foam board, and I'm just going to use this wooden piece to draw 2 rectangles. One will be longer than the other. I'm going to make a beautiful cross. And I thought because Easter is coming, this would be so perfect for that. So I'm just going to pull off my pieces now that I've cut them with my blade, trim off any little edges with the scissors. Sometimes that happens if your blade isn't super sharp, and I guess mine needs to be changed. One thing, be very careful cutting foam. It becomes more hollow in the middle if you're not real careful. I'm going to take my Nimbus colored chalk paint. It's a very light gray, and I'm going to use that for this cross. But first, I'm going to cut the piece out that overlaps because I want this to lay flat. So I'm just going to draw a pencil line where that is, and now I will go ahead and paint this cross in the Nimbus and dry it with my heat tool. Now I can assemble the cross, and it will lay flat. I'm going to turn it over and put the glue on the back and use the masking tape like I have done before. It just works really well with the foam board because the inside can kind of get melty with the hot glue. So having the tape there is really the best option. And you see it bent over, so I did add a little more glue while it was bent open and then pushed it back together. And now I'm just going to add some more of that paint to the front. Bestie, I just want to thank you for being part of this community. I have met the most wonderful people. You should really get to know each other in the comments. Lots of people praying and just being so kind. We're going to add our hanger. I'm going to use that metal part of a clothespin. I'm going to take a very small piece of twine and put it through the little, I guess it's like a coil or spring part. Hot glue that metal to the very top with the hook part sticking up, the part you could hang it with. And then I'll hot glue down the twine and add some masking tape with glue over that. And we'll have a very good seal, and this will hang up nicely. It's lightweight, not going to be a problem at all. Now I've got these half beads that I got a long time ago on Amazon, and when I run out, I will be getting more because I love them. Anyway, you can add them on with hot glue or any glue you want. I chose hot glue because it's such a lightweight project. And now I'm going to dry brush some of that steel chalk paint from Waverly around the edges and the sides of the cross. I just want to give it that, kind of distressed antique look, and I think it just looks beautiful with the natural wood beads on there. Now we're going to take the nimbus and just clean up the edges of the sides, I should say, of the cross. I'm going to add some greenery in the 4 little intersections there. I'll just glue them on from the back using the hot glue. And that's all there is to this project. I am going to add a little bit of masking tape just to make sure that that stays on there. I just like to give it more structure. I am in love with this one. I think it would be beautiful any time of the year, but especially around Easter, to remind us of what our Lord and Savior did for us. For this Dollar Tree foam board pack, I'm going to draw some little lines to guide me. I'm going to be drawing an egg. So I thought if I did a top and a bottom and then a little bit wider than the top third and then kind of connect them. So you can see I made quite a mess of it, but I did finally get a shape that I think looks like an egg, and I'm going to use my blade to cut it out. And again, anything that doesn't come through on the back, I'll just score it again with the blade and make sure it's a nice line. Now I'm going to freehand a bunny. I am looking at a picture. I can't do this without a picture. So if you need to do this with one, or if you want to get something and trace it, that's also fine. And you notice I go over the lines and correct them, and that's okay. This is all going to be covered with this antique wax by Waverly. Now we're going to be using Spanish moss, but I don't want the white underneath it showing, so I'm going to use that antique wax first. That way, no matter what, you'll see dark underneath that bunny, and then I use the white wax on the background. I'm going to take this beautiful jute twine that I got at Walmart. It's my favorite place to get this thickness, and they have the best price, so that's why I get it there. And I'm going to hot glue it all the way around the edge. And doesn't that look pretty? I love it. And then we're going to make a jute hanger. So I'll just put these on with hot glue and a piece of masking tape, and it'll work perfectly as a hanger. Now I'm just going to make a cute little shoestring bow to put at the very top of the egg. This is going to be a very rustic piece. So I know a lot of you love rustic, so I think this will become a favorite for many. We'll trim that bow and just tack down the ends of it so it doesn't get in the way of the bunny ears. Now I'm going to use my Aleene's tacky glue. I am not as much a fan of hot glue when I do moss like this because it just sticks in one spot then. And I want this to stick over the whole thing. So I'm cutting smaller little sections of the Spanish moss and pushing it on the Aleene's tacky glue, which does dry pretty fast. And I'm going to do the whole bunny. Now I'm going to go around with this little scissors that I have, and I'm just going to trim all the edges. And there you go. Look how nice that looks. And that's why I painted the antique wax underneath. And I've got these 3 ribbons from Dollar Tree. This chevron one is wired. I'm going to fold it into 4 ribbons. I already have 2 ends folded. And I'm just going to cut it out. Now we're going to make like a fussy bow. So we're going to crisscross the 4 pieces. Then I'm going to take one of the other ribbons, and I'm only going to cut 2 of this one and just crisscross those. And then the lace ribbon with burlap, I'll cut 2 and crisscross those. I do want to dovetail the ends of the thicker bow by folding the ends in half and cutting a triangle up from the bottom towards the center, and I'll do that on both ends. The other 2 ribbons, we're not going to do that. They're just very small. Now we'll do our crisscrossing again and assemble this bow. And I'm going to take a piece of twine, a very thin one, put it over the top, flip the messy bow so I'm on the back. And then I'm going to tie as tight of a knot as I can to cinch this bow. Make sure it's in the center. That's the other thing. Sometimes they wiggle around. Once I get that tied, I'm going to snip off any excess twine, and I'll kind of fluff the bow. Make sure all the pieces are pulled out so we can see them. And then I'm just going to hot glue in the center and put that right on my bunny. And I decided to kind of put it on the bunny's front chest. I looked through my button stash and I found a beautiful big black button. I'm going to put it right in the middle of the bow with hot glue, and that's it. This was so fun and easy, and it turned out, I think, just beautiful. Let me know what you think. For this Pinterest-inspired foam core board hack, I'm going to cut a 11 by 11 piece of the foam core board. And then looking at that picture that I just showed you from Pinterest, I'm going to hand draw kind of a rough flower. I mean, it is not fancy, and I'm definitely not an artist. I literally think anybody could do this. I'm just making petals around petals around petals, you'll see here. And I'm drawing it with the pencil. That way I have something to go on once I start using paint and so forth. We're going to do two really cool techniques during this DIY. The first one, we are going to take the elephant chalk paint by Waverly and paint all around the flower. You want to have a dark color underneath because that's what's going to peek through. We're going to do a crackle effect. Then we're going to use some Mod Podge. You could also use glue. I'm just going to put a coat over the gray paint. And I'm going to put a generous coat.
And I can't help but smile. Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on.
Then I'm going to take my heat tool from Amazon and I'm going to dry it just till the very top is sort of dry to the touch, but not the whole thing. And then I'm going to use the color that I want on top, which I'm going to use white, and then get my heat tool again. And as you heat it up, the glue starts to shrink, or the Mod Podge shrinks, and it creates the crackle effect. Keep your eye on the area that I'm using the heat tool on, and you'll start to see the crackle happen. It's so cool. So I'm going to do that everywhere that I put the Mod Podge and the paint, and I'm loving that look. Then I'm going to take some caulk that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to outline the petals of the flower.
I put my feet up, and we just sing along.
There you go. And it doesn't matter how bumpy it is. You want it like very textured and lumpy. I'm going to use the Ballet Slipper chalk paint by Waverly and mix it with water. And I'm just going to go very lightly over where I had already put the white off camera, and then kind of blend it with my fingers. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the like a red color to the center just to give it a little dimension. I'm going to make a stem with a little bit of brown. And then I'm going to cut two rectangles that are the same 11 inches wide, or long, I should say. I'm going to paint them first with the white and then with the burnt umber, all in a downward direction to give it the wood grain. Now, I thought that's what I was going to want. I went ahead and I glued one to the top and one to the bottom, but I didn't like it. So I get out my elephant chalk paint and I do those top pieces. And I think it just needed something a little darker so that the flower would stand out more. And I really think that's much, much better. I'm going to put a little piece of twine on the back with hot glue before I put my craft paper to finish the back. And then I'll cut a little line to pull back that hanger. And I'm going to add two skewers that I have. I'm going to paint them elephant on the edges, put Mod Podge over the whole thing. I added a piece of twine over the stem, and now I'm going to wrap, I don't know, like 10-20 times around my finger, a teeny little like kind of a pom-pom, tie the center, cut the other end of the loops, and hot glue it right to the center of the flower to give it more texture. I think that just really made all the difference. So let me know what you think. This one was very different for me, but it was really fun to experiment with it. Would you ever try something like this? Let me know down in the comments.
Just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together? If I could stop the time, don't you know that I would?
Ready for more inspiration? Here's another video I think you'll really like. If you click on it, I will see you there. You are truly a blessing to me. Bye!